Welcome back, everybody, to another Haptic Garage live stream. Hope you're all doing really well, and I'm happy to have you all back with us. We've had a lot of fun in the chat in the past, so go ahead and jump in there, say hey, give us an update on your project progress, and ask any questions that you have. Again, welcome back. I'm Brent at Haptic Garage. I've got a couple of folks with me that will be carrying on a bit of a discussion about our projects. We'll give you a good project update and of each of our cars, and also work in our thoughts about how we deal with or maybe should have dealt with adversity in our project cars. Stuff happens, right? We don't like to admit it, but there are higher priorities than what we do in our hobbies, and sometimes that can really compete with what we'd rather be focused on. So how do we balance that, right? How do we reconcile all that stuff? So we'll try and share a few thoughts there, but most of all, want to have some fun today, keep it nice and chill, and hear from everybody in the chat if you'd like to let us know how you're doing and what you're wondering about if you have any questions for any one of us. Now, before I bring in our esteemed guests and co-hosts, however you'd like to look at it, I want to give a shout out to a few folks that have really adopted this VDub Run 21 thing. They're actually putting me to shame. I've been, unfortunately, kind of silent over the last month and a half or so, and I'll get into that a little bit, but I've been watching on Instagram and Facebook and, of course, YouTube, and some of y'all are just killing it. So it's pretty cool to see some folks jump on board and associate their project with the group here that's all trying to give each other support to finish their car or at least get to a significant milestone by the end of the year. So from my list here, I've noticed some videos from Vintage Speed VW, Fix It Scotty has been working on some brakes, Hubertus Shaper, Joe's Rust Buckets, and VW Restorations all across the pond, all doing great work on their cars. So thanks, guys, for doing what you're doing and giving us some inspiration for our own cars and jumping onto the bandwagon here with hashtag VDubRun21. Also saw some videos from Matt Lundquist, VW Jawbreaker. Stay tuned, he's with us today. Zim's VW Garage. Greg from Backyard Kombi also with us. If you're not aware of Greg and his channel, we'll get a chance to meet him a little bit later today, or actually here in just a few minutes. So stay tuned for that, and definitely make plans to check out the Backyard Kombi VW channel or YouTube channel to see how his project is going on. And then, of course, good old Mike was with us in the last live stream, so a big shout out to good old Mike. Thanks for being our friend and for supporting us in what we do, and want you to know that we support you too, and hope everything's going really well for you. So just a few people that I've noticed here and there. I was looking at Instagram this morning, and Scottish Kilt is just killing it this weekend, which is pretty cool. So check out that Instagram handle. He's been doing some pretty cool work on his bug engine. All right, so without further ado, let me bring in our guests here. This is on your left, Greg from Backyard Kombi, and on your right is Gary from VW Jawbreaker, the co-hostess with the mostest.
What's up?
Very good.
Okay, back to normal.
You're so quirky. Welcome, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing good, Brad. How about yourself?
I'm having a good time.
Good.
Yeah, good to hear both of y'all.
Good day there, Greg.
Yeah. So we're welcoming Greg to the scene here, a relative newcomer to the VW online world. He's had his channel up and running for, I don't know, what is it, Greg, about 6 months or so?
About 6 months, and it's great to be here. Thanks. It's in the shadow of giant VW YouTubers. So especially I want to make sure to acknowledge that Gary just got 5,000 subscribers. So
yeah.
we'll be able to look, Brent. We'll be able to look back, someday and say we knew, Gary before his, period of stardom, and so his fancy, Hollywood lifestyle. So,
yeah.
Oh, I highly doubt
something about that
that
doesn't sound like Gary.
No,
no, that is a huge accomplishment. I mean,
Yes.
just getting to 1,000 subscribers is a big deal. as both you and I know, Greg. But yeah, 5,000 subscribers. Gary left me in the dust a long time ago, and I only see things going onward and upward. And it's all because of a lot of hard work. He's very consistent, does great videos, shares really good information, and, you know, kind of a likable guy. So credit where credit is due.
Part.
You're killing it, man, and we're happy for you.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. And your check is in the mail, so it should be coming any moment now. But
yeah, that was kind of a love fest, wasn't it?
Just a tad, you know. But no, it took over 2 years for me to even hit 1,000 subs. So I've been at this now almost 4 years to be able to get to where I'm at. Which for some people that's nothing. For some people that takes a lot longer than that. So it happens in due time whenever it's supposed to happen, if it's supposed to happen. So seriously though, thanks for everybody,
Yeah.
you know, supporting each other. And you know, it's about the community. It has nothing to do with me or Brent or Greg or anybody. It's all about everybody. So
yep, those 5,000 folks are real people, and they're awesome for coming around and wanting to be a part of what's going on YouTube. We're just humbled to be some small part of it, which is pretty cool. Speaking of the devil, everybody, VW Restorations in the chat. Hey, buddy, we were just mentioning you a little
what's
while
up?
ago. Doing some really good work on your cars over there, and I'm pretty sure England, but yeah, welcome VW Restorations. And Frank,
I'm a big fan of that channel.
Yep, Frank Falone. What's up, Frank?
Cool. Thanks for jumping into the chat, everybody. That kicks it off. So you just want to come in and say hi, or you want to share your progress that you've been making on your project, we'd love to interact, or any questions that you have at any time for any of us. One other thing before we totally get into it here, I just want to acknowledge what's happening outside of our little bubble here. We are so lucky to have such a cool community to enjoy our hobbies in, but then there's, of course, the real world. So just going to send my thoughts out to the folks in Louisiana right now that are facing what's sure to be a horrible storm. And, of course, for the last couple of weeks, I think all our minds have been on our military service members, both past and present, for the hardships that they're going through right now. We're just thinking of you all, and we appreciate you and love you all. So thanks for doing what you do and allowing us to do silly things like this and enjoy our freedom here on YouTube, talking about old rusty cars. But I wanted to mention that. Don't mean to bring things down, but thinking about all of y'all, and hope you're doing okay.
And now we've got Joe's Rust Buckets, Annie VW, and Bob in the house.
There we go. We have Bob and Annie VW. Awesome. Very cool. So welcome back, y'all. It's good to see you all again. All right, so here's our itinerary for the day. We'll each give our updates on our projects, and I'm going to go first because it's going to be relatively short, and then we'll hear from Gary and Greg about their projects, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, maybe weave in a little bit about how we like to deal with adversity when it confronts us in our projects. So a little bit of a slideshow for you here. A couple of months ago, we started our VDub Run 21 initiative, and as I should have been, I was all gung-ho about it and excited to be able to work on my car like I like to work on it, and that's with a heavy dose of focus, where I can kind of push other things aside and really just focus on the project at hand in the garage. Of course, now that's Dweezil, this Beetle here. So I got started with that and got into the metal work of all of it. I started in the rear of the car because there's a lot of other work that's already been done to the car, so this is where I just kind of need to finish things up, and started working on the surrounds for the windows. I'd done a little bit of this before, so I was just kind of replicating things that seemed to kind of sort of work for me before, and since I don't have the talent or the skill or the skills or the equipment to make these totally from scratch, I just kind of got the metal close and clamped it on there and hammered it into shape. Of course, what we're doing here is replacing some heavily pitted metal around the window opening. And it went okay. You can't really see all of the imperfections in this, but I'm happy with it. I think it's going to work well for the project, and ended up doing this all the way up the side, all the way across, and all the way up the other side. Big question now is, will the window still fit? I don't think I'm going to know that until I actually install the thing. Next up, and this is where I am now, is the parcel tray or the luggage area. You can see it's all been cut out here. The very bottom of it was just Swiss cheese, and the rearmost portion of it, the vertical portion of it, is savable, but it's going to need a lot of work. So I used the spot weld cutter to carefully get all of that stuff out and have started repairs on that metal. Now, if you look in the back of this picture here, that's the top of that vertical piece, and you see there's some Swiss cheese here too. It's pretty roached. And so all this top has to get cut off and replaced. And the challenging thing to me, or at least that's what I was thinking at the time, was to replicate this stamped steel here. To me, that would require bead rolling, but if I had such a thing, but needed to replicate that, right? So this was the experiment, was to try and make a press die. So here's the positive and the negative of that, and instead of using it in a press, I've just been using it in a vise to smush the metal in that space, and it seemed to be working kind of sort of okay. So the next step after that was to grind down some wood, of all things. Not much of a woodworker, but made it look like the top of that piece, and used the brake to do this little dog leg you see on the very edge there. I'm pointing at it with my pointer as if you can see my pointer. That's kind of silly, but anyway, got started here with hammer forming on that wood form, and then tried the press die, and it kind of sort of worked. So these all look a little bit different. None of them are exactly the same, but lining up the press die with the original metal and having this piece tacked into place and just smushing it in the vise is going to be satisfactory. And I guess the punchline to all of this is normally all of this would be covered up with carpet anyway. So a lot of this is about fun and just, experimenting and trying to learn some things in the shop. Spending a lot of time that's not necessarily moving me forward, but having a good time at it. And so this was all well and good, and that leads me up to about a month and a half ago or so, where things got really busy. Some other responsibilities with life got pretty busy, and like the reopening came to my house, and so my work life got extremely busy. I think I've finally gotten past that as of last weekend, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you today and getting back to editing video and getting back into the garage and so on. So I'm back in the spot that I want to be in, and that's kind of what I've been up to for the last couple of months, even though I've been kind of silent for the last month and a half. So my apologies in that regard to everyone, because I feel like I have a responsibility to keep the content coming if that's what I'm proposing to do here, and I haven't done very good at it. So as far as the adversity of having distractions, I'm going to share something that I wish I had done instead of, so maybe moving forward, this is what I'll do. I've learned once again the art of the pivot, right? So the problem that I ran into was I was excited about being focused on the car, and then I couldn't be focused on the car because I had other things that required the bulk of my attention. But what I failed to do was take advantage of like 30 minutes here and 2 hours there, and just get those little baby steps of progress done that by now ultimately would have added up to some real progress. And because I wasn't doing that, I didn't have things to post, so I wasn't holding up my end of the bargain as far as giving regular updates as part of VDubRun 21. So shame on me for that, but that's part of our growth here, right? As we take on a commitment like this, where we're going to try and get to a big milestone in the future, and see what it takes to get us there. And a lot of times there's a little bit of a personal journey along the way that helps us grow and get better and better and better at it. And so if I had to reflect, I kind of already knew all those things, but I obviously didn't implement them very well. And so I'm carrying that with me into the final 2/3 of VDubRun 21. These last 4 months where I'm going to really have to turn on the heat and get a lot of work done, and I couldn't be more excited to do it. So that's where I am today. The car sits ready and waiting for me to do a little bit of work on it, maybe even tonight. I got some trailer brakes I need to finish, but we're getting there. We're really, really, really close. And like I said, I'm happy to be back on YouTube, spending some time with my friends and all of our folks here in the chat and viewing right now. So thank you all for bearing with me and for being here today.
Well, we've got other brother Daryl in the house. We've got Fix It Scotty said he made it to the party a little late, but that's all right, man. Happy to have you here.
Hey, Scotty.
Yeah, I definitely people are liking those repairs you made. Looking really good there, Brent. Doing some great work. And you're right. Sometimes it's not always about hurrying up and getting it done, but enjoying the process and the therapy time in the garage as well.
Yeah, Brent, I would say that looks like a lot of progress to me. And if I had done that, I would be announcing it from the mountain. So there's not, you don't need. So, and of course, there's the getting it to YouTube, and that takes a lot of time. But it looks like you actually have accomplished a fair amount during this time when you haven't been able to focus on restoration, in the way that you would like.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's all good. I want to acknowledge, I think it was other brother Daryl asked, is my volume low? I've made an adjustment, so hopefully my volume is a little bit better here. So thanks for the feedback on the technical side of it. Definitely want to try and get all this right for everybody that's watching. But yeah, back to that, Greg. I do appreciate, and Gary, those thoughts. That's the cool thing about what we're doing for each other, right? Is we're being honest with what we're doing on our own projects, but we're supporting each other and giving each other the encouragement that sometimes, well, Greg, you're the one that suggested this live stream, and it probably wouldn't be happening today if you hadn't brought it up. So we're all kind of scratching each other's back here, and it's pretty cool to be a part of that.
I do like how other brother Daryl said it looks great from his house. That's right there.
Very cool. So there's another project that's been going on that is making huge progress, and if you've been keeping up with Gary's channel, you've seen some of this progress. So we're going to turn it over to Gary here and let him carry us through the process that he's been doing on his car ever since we started VDub Run 21. I'm clicking buttons here and obviously not doing two things at once very well, but here you go. I'm going to turn it over to you, Gary. Tell us where you've been and where you think you're going at this point. I'm pretty sure it's going to be impressive.
I'm not sure about impressive, but it's funny how sometimes you get an idea in your head of this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to accomplish, and this is how the project's going to go. And as you dive into it, that's not how things go whatsoever. But that's just how life is, yet alone a project. So kind of give everybody a refresh. That's how I picked up the turd when I first got it. And I had a vision of this Volksrad that wasn't slammed to the ground because, Jawbreaker slammed to the ground. I already collect reflectors as it is, so I wanted something different. So I figured, let's do a Volksrad that's kind of like a Baja with some race car tendencies to it. So point of the matter is you can make these into whatever you want. You don't have to stick to the mainstream. People think it should look like this. It's your car. It's your money. At least it is in my aspect. This is my money, not anybody else's money but my own. So that's kind of, how it started out. And then from there, we started working on the beam extension. Got a nice 8.5, 9-inch beam extension made up out of old parts, old frame head, old beam, whatever I could find. And we got everything as solid and structurally sound. And from what I've been told by quite a few other people, massively overkilled. But I'd rather be overkilled than running down the road and watch it break. So,
overkill's good. I like the Super Beetle steering parts there.
Oh yeah,
that's ingenuity right there.
Well, it was also a lot cheaper than going out and buying brand new U-joints.
Sure.
So of course this car, you can kind of see it in the picture. I'm pointing, like you can actually see where I'm pointing, but the firewall was shot, the heaters were shot, pans are shot, all the whole 9 yards. There we go. I forgot I sent you that one. So that's the beam extension on with the type of tires, 30-inch tires I'm going to run with it. So it kind of gives you a good idea of kind of how this is going to go.
It's a cool looking stance, and Annie chimes in, says always good to over engineer. Couldn't agree more.
I'm 100% with you. I actually had somebody say, quite a few people say that this was going to be the death of me, and I said, you know what? If this thing breaks the way I engineered this, because I'm not an engineer, but I've been building things all my life, and if this is going to break, it was just my time to go. So kind of give you a little bit of reference. that's the difference between Jawbreaker and the 60. So it's definitely gonna. I think right there, it's like I said, Jawbreaker collects reflectors if I'm not careful, and the 60 is going to have about 14 inches of ground clearance. So, bit of a dramatic difference there.
That's a pair right there. I'd love to see both of these at a show. Like at some point in the future, Levi might be driving Jawbreaker, and
that's the
if
goal.
anybody hasn't heard of Levi's Backyard, you need to check him out. He just posted a pretty cool video of the drive to a recent meet on Levi's Backyard. But yeah, one of y'all could drive one, and the other one of y'all drive the other. That'd be pretty cool.
That's the goal anyway, is to get the 60 done. The big 2054 going into the 60 with a custom transmission being built for it out of Michigan right now. And then my good buddy Frank Fallone has got the engine case where we're going to do a 1600 build back for Jawbreaker. So that way my wife can drive it, that way the wife can drive it, or, the kids want to learn how to drive on it, whatever, we can have both bugs going. So that's kind of the plan. And of course, as we started digging into the car even more and more, that's where I realized that it's just not going to go the way I thought. I think I sent you some others, Brent.
Yeah.
But it
was I asleep at the switch there?
Oh, that's okay. But, originally it was going to just be replace the metal that needed to be replaced and get it on the road. And as you see, it's pretty much gone down to bare metal. One thing I've learned, I don't do body work. I do engines, I do electrical, I do all kinds of mechanical stuff. I'm not a body guy. So learning to weld this sheet metal has definitely been a learning curve for the most part. But yeah, that's one thing I'm learning is I don't want to do this twice. So we're going through and doing everything the best of my ability now, so I'm not digging into stuff later down the road.
Yep, now's the time to do it.
Yep.
Gary, I've heard you say several times that you're not a body man, but you couldn't tell it from what the videos you've been posting the last several weeks. I mean, the scale and the level of metal fabrication and restoration here is really amazing. I mean, I really didn't know how far you were going to go down this rabbit hole, but you're all the way down, brother. With Alice, in the topsy-turvy world of, welding and cutting off and shaping. And so I think it's really impressive, and the quality of the work that you're doing there is.
Well, what I've learned to do with my quality of work is not zoom in on the photos. That way you can't see all my mistakes. And I was really beating myself up a lot in the beginning. I'm used to working with a lot thicker metal where I can kind of, really beat it into submission a little bit more and shape a little bit more. And I'm learning with this real thin stuff, you can't do that. So I was kind of over critiquing myself, which, we are our own worst critic. And unfortunately, or no, I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately, I had a friend of mine say, listen, even the best guys out there have to use body filler. Stop trying to make it perfect. It's only going to be as perfect as you can make it. I started realizing that I don't have the skills and the tools and all that other stuff in order to keep it, and make it 100%. I'm realizing that making it 80% is pretty good. It takes a lot to do that 80%. Yeah. So
apparently the skill set is impressive enough that you recently acquired a new toy.
I did. Yes. Yes, welder. Little, what is it? The MIG Pro 250 or whatever. It's definitely a little different on setup and stuff, but it's been a fantastic welder. I'm really impressed. And I know I kind of set it off a little bit too, but Surgenic mode or whatever it is, it pretty neat. It's kind of just set the basics and it kind of auto feeds and adjusts for you. So, and then you can go in and fine tune it as well to kind of make it what you need. So it's definitely really impressive. So that's pretty much
definitely a tool where you want to have a good one. They're kind of like a chainsaw where you have to maintain them as you use them.
Yes.
On a regular basis, and you get into a rhythm and it's fine, but you don't want more of that. You don't want to troubleshoot your welder, right? You don't want to troubleshoot your chainsaw. You maintain it, keep it healthy, but it needs to be reliable for what it is, and a good welder is a great thing to have.
It is, and honestly, and and the welder so far has been absolutely fantastic. I actually enjoy it better than the Harbor Freight welder I was using. And again, nothing wrong with those. They run pretty good, right out of the box. But, I want to get as much as this done out of the way, because again, trying to go through and see all the metal work that needs to be done, I don't want to dig into this again later down the road. So the more I can do now to fix, repair, reshape, OSFO, and then I'm going to have to get into learning how to paint. I haven't painted anything since I painted a bike like 24 years ago. That was the only thing I've ever painted was one motorcycle. So, I'm going to have to dive back into that again and relearn all that again. But they kind of give
it. Rust-Oleum's pretty cool.
It is. It is. I really.
You have to be good at shaking, So.
No. You can actually take the oil base, thin it down with hardener, and spray it just like you would any other color. It just doesn't hold up as well down here. It doesn't have any UV protection properties in it. But to kind of give everybody a heads up, and kind of give everybody a little spoiler alert, if you will. It's not going to stay ratty looking like I originally planned. I'm putting way too many hours into this, way too much love into this. It's going to get epoxy primed. It's going to get sealed properly.
Ooh.
We'll do some, some high build primer on it to try to get rid of some of the imperfections, but I don't want to get rid of them all. But the outside is actually going to be Raptor lined in a OD green. So it'll have that military look to it.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
So that's the path I'm on now. I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit for the ones listening. So
subject to change if you have the whim, right? But that sounds great.
I think it's pretty much that's the path I'm on. That's the path I've been on for a little bit. And actually, I'm going to do the interior instead of doing all accents black. I'm going to actually do it more of like a battleship gray. So it'll be like a gray and green theme going on. So again, I don't want it perfect. I just want it good enough, solid, where it's not going to fall apart on me, and I'm not going to watch my investment fall apart and rot away in another 2-3 years. So, cool. we'll see. We'll see it goes from there. But it's definitely it's definitely taking a little different path than I originally anticipated.
Gary, it's great. I really look forward to seeing the progress on that. And the best thing about your channel is we know that every Wednesday we're going to see that progress.
That's one thing I've worked hard on, and I've had I've had a few people really drill into my head that consistency is key, and the more consistent you are, the more people are going to be there for you and with you. And that's the thing, honestly, is it's not about me. It's just me showing what I'm doing in the community. We all have projects going on. We all have things going on. It's sharing, with one another what we're doing and being a part of that big community and helping each other along with, with your, you have strengths and I have weaknesses. We all work together. We're just one big, stronger team. And that's one thing I've tried preaching from the beginning is just because you know something, don't be stingy about it. Share the information you have.
Yeah. I say that's great because, that's something that seems shared by a network of people I've gotten to know in the last 6, 7, 8 months since I've gotten into this project, like Brent. And I don't think everybody shares that philosophy. Sometimes they're kind of grumpy gatekeepers who don't want to share knowledge or information. But the great thing about, I'd say, but both you and Brent, and I'd say a network of other people I've gotten to know, Marcy Junebug and Annie that's out there, and is that they're really happy and willing to step up. And don't get me wrong, don't make a pest of yourself asking for advice, but they're gonna monitor what you're posting on YouTube or Instagram, and that they're gonna give you pointers, and that's
of course.
And so the result of that is becoming a really kind of a cool thing where we have this kind of network of friends. I'll call it I feel like I've really become friends with you and Brent, and that's spanning the continent now. We may never meet in person, but there's a friendship spanning California to Florida and Indiana and other places. So that's pretty cool.
It really is. And as you were talking, and I was kind of reading some of the comments, and it's kind of funny. Actually, Brent, you got one in there, but we got Froglid here.
Mhm.
Let's see, we got VW Rosterations, things like it looks like it should have diesel stacks. It was actually a consideration to have two big stacks coming out the back for exhaust.
Yeah.
So, and Bob says you're right. It's better to do it right than have to do it all over again. We got CT here.
CT.
Yeah, man. What's up,
Yeah,
dude?
hey CT, how you doing, man? I saw that motorcycle on Instagram.
That is
We'll
sweet,
have to go
man.
riding.
Definitely. Well, speaking of that, I better get my
250.
Yamaha back on the road.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah,
I was
I
Joe,
gotta have a comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Brent, you got a comment here from Joe's Rust Bucket.
Yeah.
Why don't you read that out?
Isn't that a cool thing? So yeah, he's welcoming me back, and just wanted to check on me, that's how cool this group of folks are, right? And kind of to what Greg was just saying, how we include each other and so on. And my response to that was, well, you show up, and we're happy to include everybody who shows up, just like everybody that's in the chat and watching right now. These are involved people, and we check up on each other. And just like Joe was so nice to do and say here in the comments, that's what Gary and Greg were doing a couple of weeks ago, because I had been quiet, and they were talking amongst themselves about, hey, Brent's been quiet, is he okay? And each on their own, about the same time, contacted me and went, oh yeah, everything's fine, it's just busy, and we came up with the plans for this out of that. But that really feels good. I've got family that I love very dearly that we stay in close contact with, whether we're busy or not. So I've got that support group, but even beyond that, this helps me know that if something does go bad someday, there's going to be someone coming around to check on me, and that kind of gets into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, right? And it makes a person feel good, and I hope everybody else feels the same thing, that we're all kind of checking up on each other. And so I appreciate that, Joe, and it's just indicative of what I think we kind of might have going on here with doing these live streams just as one way to connect with each other and see what's going on. But yeah, very cool comments in the comments section there, and good to see all y'all showing up. Bob,
thank you, guys.
And Joe and everybody.
I've had a great time watching CT's recent videos where he's welding these pans in on the Gia. Great job at it, so he's really busting out the on his channel and on that project. I've really enjoyed seeing him sort of clear this hurdle and move forward. So man, grats. And I certainly, CT, you're one of the first people whose channel I started watching, when I got into this. So cool to see you here.
Yep, I agree. CT's been making some good progress, and he's never claimed to know it all like I do. I don't know it all. We all know bits and pieces, and I give CT credit for jumping in and doing a lot of what he's doing. He's really outside of his comfort zone a lot of times. He just jumps in there and makes it happen. And speaking of jumping in there and making it happen, VW Rosterations just asked that Mike's been quiet of late. You guys heard if he's good? He's actually good. He's just busy dealing with a lot of stuff. But actually, I forgot to tell you, Brent, I actually talked to him this past week briefly.
Nice.
But he is all right. So I'm hoping to get a little bit more out of him here soon, and just to make sure that he's all right, because I don't.
When he's able.
As long as I just don't have the time to drive up to North Carolina and beat on his door and say, hey, you're not answering me. Okay.
Because you'd do it, man.
Oh, road trip, man. Let's film it too.
Very cool, VW Rosterations, for asking about Mike. I shot him an email, recently. And it's good to hear that update, Gary, because we just get busy and have to focus on other things. So whenever he's good and ready to be in this atmosphere again, we'll be happy to badger him once again.
I agree. But you know what, Brent? Enough about me and you. We did this to help bring on Greg. So Greg,
there's somebody else here today.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to bring Greg on
I have
here.
to talk more?
Yes, it's all about you, buddy.
And just wait till you see how he dresses.
Oh,
yeah. That's just me in my normal day-to-day life there.
There you go.
I give him credit. I'm too lazy.
Your tricycle is missing a wheel there, Greg.
Well, it's
we're happy to have you with us.
So
And we're anxious to hear a little bit more about your channel and your project, of course, your non-Kombi backyard Kombi, and let everybody else get to know you a little bit better too, because you might be one of those unfound channels these days, and we're hoping that everybody will go out and check out Backyard Kombi. But
I agree.
there's a cool story here. As soon as I stop rattling on, everybody's going to hear pretty cool details from Greg about his why, right? Like, why do we do what we do? We can talk all about, I replaced the metal around the rear window and all those details, but why are we doing these things? And Greg has a deeper purpose to his channel and some pretty cool progress that he's making and the way he's leveraging that for the greater good. So without rattling on any longer here, I'll turn it over to you, Greg, and you can share some of your details with us.
Please do.
Thanks, Brent. And again, I appreciate you providing the time and space to be on here. And I look forward to future versions of this show where you have other guests, and that'll be a lot of fun. Backyard Kombi, it emerged from a long-term interest in all kinds of restoration projects. But really specifically, for the last 15 years or so, I've been into restoring vintage bicycles from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, sort of high-end race bikes.
Nice.
Bicycles that were both, incredible machines for racing, but also works of art. And so finding the bikes in worst condition as possible and trying to bring them back, save them, for a future generation. And as part of that, I'm a volunteer at a local bike co-op called BC Central. And the mission of that organization is to teach people basic DIY mechanical, bike repair skills and safety skills, and to get bicycles in the possession of people who really need them for their day-to-day mobility. People that might not be able to afford a car. So there's a real kind of public service component of that organization. You want to go ahead and hit the next slide, Brent?
Sure.
But the primary reason, the primary sort of motivation for Backyard Kombi's ever happening is my son, Clinton, who is high functioning autistic. And he is one of the most intelligent, clever, creative, funny, really nice kids that you'd ever want to meet. His challenges are attention span related and not intellectual or really even social. But he like a lot of kids, the computer and video games can capture too much of his attention. And it's not like when we were kids, where we could just get out and wander across neighborhoods and across town. I mean, it's a different kind of childhood that kids are having now. And I desperately don't want him to be trapped in that kind of video game world, where he's just staring at the computer. I want him to get outside and work with his hands and solve problems so that, the two of us can bond, together. And he can develop, better social skills and better mechanical skills that are going to be useful to him moving forward. So that's what's at stake with me. And this is something Brent sort of brought up earlier. What's at stake if this doesn't work out? I mean, the lower level, sort of losses would be like all the money and time I've put into, getting ready for Backyard Kombi, and boy, I put a lot. I've had to completely, my little bike shed expanded radically to welders and big air compressors and all kinds of power and air tools.
It can snowball.
Neighbors and friends have helped out. I mean, it's really, I had literally brought in a crane and lifted up my bike shed, moved it up on a patio, and built, laid down a concrete slab, and I have a temporary garage out there. I mean, now there's workspace overflowing into the side yard, and now the bike shed is just completely transformed into this new place with new tools. And so if I never get the bus running, then that would be a real shame because I've invested all this time and money. But the biggest thing. It would have this project would have never started if not for Clinton. I always found Volkswagens cool. I always, but it's really Clinton is the priority. It's him being the best possible version of himself that he can be. So I don't force him to participate because that would defeat the purpose. He wants to be out there. He has grown increasingly excited about this project and others that we're involved in related to car restoration. So here's him at BC Central, the bike co-op that we both volunteer at several years ago, and he was already tearing down and repairing bikes then and loving it. So
That's awesome.
He has a healthy curiosity. I got to meet Clinton in some of the testing that we've been done, meaning me figuring out how to do this stuff, but this live stream stuff. But I got to meet Clinton. He's a cool cat. He's gonna do some pretty cool stuff, and that curiosity to learn more is so important. I had a neighbor ask me, should I get an old car for my son? And I'm like, well, is he interested? Right, it's something you got to immerse in, and I see that. I didn't see that in other situations, but I see that in Clinton. So I think you're onto something, Greg. And while I'm interrupting here, Annie says you're hitting a soft spot for her. That's her boy too. So that's pretty cool that we have some kindred spirits here and some relatable experience.
Yeah, Scotty was saying that I guess his 17-year-old is on the autistic spectrum as well, smart and sweet. Got his own YouTube channel and loves making videos. Let whatever they're passionate in, whatever they love doing, support them. That's what you would do to any kid, whether they're autistic or not, or you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You support your children, and want them to succeed in whatever they want.
Yeah.
So,
and Clinton, he's completely fine with this situation, and he actually views it as a cool thing about himself. It's like a superpower. And I've heard, there are various high functioning autistic people where it's just, your brain just works a little differently. Yep. And he's able to do some things that other people can't. Like he can invest an incredible amount of time learning, investigating a topic. And that's the type of ability, along with his raw intelligence, that's going to make him successful in the future. Is ability to sort of zoom in and just spend a lot of time learning about something. Now, it would be a whole lot better if that was something out there in the world. I mean, it's not going to be Minecraft that he's learning so much about, that it's going to be engineering or software design or mechanics or that's a much better place as far as I'm concerned for him to sort of focus his efforts. So
we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, don't we? It's really a point of finding our strengths, what we enjoy, like where the crossroads are between our strengths, what we enjoy, and then here's the reality part of it: what's valuable to someone else. That way you can add value for them, right? You can share something, and that's where the exchange takes place, where we can put food on our table and get all those other things of doing something we're good at and something that we enjoy. And I have no doubt those things are out there for every person, and of course that includes Clinton. Real quick before I turn it back to you, Greg, Scotty, if you want to name drop your son's channel, feel free to do so. I don't mind that. At least in this case, don't mind that at all. And Scotty, for everybody else, is one of our VDub runners. So if you just search hashtag VDubRun21, you'll see some of Scotty's videos pop up. So feel free to do that at some point. Just follow the hashtag and you'll see the content start popping up for the folks that are participating. But sorry about that, Greg. I'll turn it back to you.
No worries. Yeah, could you go back a slide, Brent?
Absolutely. To the first one here? Or
no,
to
the second one.
I'd advanced here a little bit earlier.
Right
this
there.
Looks like the band here.
Yes. So I thought it's probably important that I spend a couple minutes explaining these tribute songs that I'm doing, just so people have some understanding of what's going on.
If you haven't found these, you need to look.
They're really cool.
Might be one about yours truly.
Yes. Brent is the most recent song, and I have one in the works for VW Life. The lyrics are written, the melody is written, but getting it recorded takes time, especially because I have a partner in crime who's one of my best friends and a semi-professional singer who has a busy life. And to the extent that I involve her, I have to, these things sort of get done on both of our schedules. But I've been writing and silly songs and singing them poorly since college. So it's not a new thing for me. Making silly lyrics up for songs. And so I'm in a instrumental surf rock band here on the West Coast. I mean, we just play locally. I have a day job, and this is not it, for a good reason. But I've been into music, my entire life. And so music is always part of everything that I do. I'm also, without giving out too much personal information, I'm a teacher in real life. And what I discovered is that teachers are the real rock stars as far as I'm concerned, because what teachers do is open up the world. They enable, people like me to be able to execute a hobby like Volkswagen restoration. There are manuals and there's the Samba, but what I found is that YouTube videos are this amazing resource. Literally provide a very clear and entertaining walkthrough of everything that I need to do. And there's a lot of people that are in the discussion chat right now, in addition to both Brent and Gary, who I've watched and studied your videos extensively. And I just want to say, wow, thank you, because it has made it easier to do what I need to do. And it's super entertaining. I mean, the best of you, in addition to being educational, it's just really fun, to watch you do your thing.
And likewise.
I agree.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. My first videos were a little rough. They're getting better. So
all of our first videos were rough. So don't beat yourself up on that one.
Yeah. Anyway, these songs are my way of just saying a sincere thank you to the people that especially in the first 6 months, the sort of channels that I watched the most, and just for whatever reason felt inspired to write a song about your channel, sort of celebrating it, So anyway, big thanks to that, and so that's sort of the background there. It started off with Musty One, and I think then there was the song about Marcy Junebug, and then Mike Effen's Garage, and most recently Brent. So,
5150 MXVW says, "Keep up the great work, Greg. Glad I was here to hear the backstory." So that's pretty cool. Hey, buddy, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, and hold on. Jason, make sure you let Musty One know that there's a tribute song to him as well on Greg's channel.
Yeah, Greg deserves a shout out for that.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know. I have no idea if Musty knows that, and if he does, he's probably like, "What is this?
Who's this freak doing videos of songs to me?"
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, Musty's the king of this sort of YouTube community we're all in. At least he's one of them. So
I agree. I think we all can agree on that one.
Yeah. Anyway, let me move on to the project at hand.
Sure.
I feel like I spent a lot of time on the background, which is an important part of the story. So March 11th, this bus arrived. That's a little over 6 months ago. And I had completely transformed the backyard and tools and knowledge to prepare for that. And it had sat, about 22 years in a garage in Iowa after being partially disassembled to prepare for a home paint job. And it was never reassembled. I think that it was a father-son project, both really cool guys. And I really appreciate, I have a family friend connection. That's how I sort of acquired it. Nice. So I want to acknowledge that they curated this vehicle, and I appreciate having it now. And I want to do their project justice, So I got it. It was a bit of a basket case. Was filled with lots of old and new parts, and it didn't have brakes, didn't have windows, didn't have a functional engine. A lot of rust in the undercarriage and front axle. I had it delivered with enclosed shipping, so it arrived late one night. Literally, the neighborhood, it was funny, kind of came together. About 4 or 5 of us, and pushed it into its spot. And so the next morning we got up and explored it. And
I bet that was exciting.
Oh, definitely.
It was super exciting, yes, and it also terrifying in some ways. Is like this thing was real now. We're really doing
this thing deep now.
There's no going back. The first thing we did was get new rubber seals and replace all the windows. And looking back now, that was a relatively easy thing to do. But at the time, because one thing I want to make clear is like we're really new to all this. We're good at doing research here and following instructions, but everything's new. So every single step of the process as we move forward, I spend a lot of time reading, watching YouTube in preparation. So putting in a windshield was a huge first step. Now looking back at it, it's no big deal. But that's
part of the learning curve.
That's right. So we did that, and that went well, and it was confidence building. Then we tackled the rear wheels. We basically pulled everything off, got new hubs, got new everything, new backing plates, new cylinders, new brake shoes, new hoses, put all that together. Made some mistakes. Unfortunately, a guy from Florida nicely pointed out some of those mistakes I was able to fix before the wheels got completely put back together again. Yes. So that was great. Clinton actually did a fair amount of that. And that's what I try to do. I try to over research and over prepare, get everything sort of set up so I can just sort of guide him to do it. So he was really into it. He really enjoyed it. That's one of our early videos. And then after that, we got the engine going, and it wouldn't turn when I got it. And I was pretty scared but I pulled the plugs and dumped some Marvell's mystery oil in there and let it set for a while. And after, I think on the 3rd day of doing that, it started to turn. I was like, oh, so glad. Then it was just a matter of doing all the basic things that, I've learned from watching 100 Musty One videos, right? And that was great because I literally watched 100 Musty One, will it start videos. And I was really excited to try to emulate that kind of barn, starting set of techniques. And it worked. It's fine. I mean, I never really worried too much about it because I've seen him, it's like essentially pull these VW engines out of the swamp, and he's like 30 minutes later, he's got it purring, so they're just,
that's the Musty One touch.
That's right. So there we are with that, got it running. And that really, I think, brings us up to the current situation. When I entered the VDub 21 challenge that Brent and Gary and Mike generated. And my goal is really just to drive the bus around the neighborhood. It's not to have a street legal vehicle. It's not to have a daily driver. It's just being able to get in it and cruise around the block a few times. And there has been a fair amount of work toward that goal already, but a fair amount needs to happen to make it a reality by the end of December. So in that deadline, it's coming up faster than I would like. But
tell me about it.
So the first major stage of that, the little step in the process, was pulling the front axle beam and everything associated with it, everything that was in the way. And again, this is the first time I've ever done anything like that. And so that's
an intimidating project. I hadn't done that one myself, so I'll be looking at your videos again to give me a heads up when I have to someday finally replace all the King and Link pin bushings.
Fix It Scotty and CT's Garage had some videos that were pretty useful to look at for that. Very helpful. And CT, man, I mean, that was one of the first videos I remember watching of his, when he pulled that front axle, completely took everything apart.
Well, that thing
restored
looked
all
great
of it,
when he was
put it
done
back
with
together.
it.
Yep.
So that was helpful, and that was inspiring. So that's how we proceeded. I mean, I took everything apart and stripped the beam down to bare metal. You want to forward to the next one, Brent?
Sure.
And then there, employing some haptic garage sort of procedures, treated it with Pour 15, and then a primer and a top coat. I'm really happy with how this turned out.
That's beautiful, man.
POR 15 there's a little bit of a learning curve there. You know, it's not rocket science, but if you do it wrong, there are penalties. So
yes.
Well, I'm sure all of us that have used, POR
Up
15
to and including wearing it for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah. Or longer. Yeah. So yeah, and it's a lot of that's in the prep. You got to get it, and then following up with the appropriate amount of time with the dust coat and a top coat. But, so we put it all back together. We sent off the spindles to get restored by Greg Noble, and he did a great job. They came back, and everything else I pretty much replaced. So new tie rods, new steering dampener, new drag link, new backing plates, new brake cylinders, new brake shoes, everything. And so it all came back together, and it's finally new shocks, and it's back on the bus. And that was huge for me. It took a long time because, my life's busy enough that I can't devote as much time as I would like to this project. So it sort of progress comes in fits and starts, but it was so great after all that time. And it really took a lot of time just to get it back together and on the bus. And I'm really happy with the outcome. The steering is super tight. I mean, and it feels great. A new Berg shifter on the inside too. And probably the biggest complication there was I had to remove the steering rods, the shift rods. The front and the rear shift rods were completely fused together, rusted, because this thing came from Chicago and Iowa.
Well, that was an ordeal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I remember
ultimately
having to cut that thing out, and
Yep.
yeah, I tried heat. I tried drilling out the bolts. I eventually had just get the angle grinder under there and cut it up bits and pieces. And putting it back together was putting those back in was a lot easier. Unfortunately, Brent has like a really nice couple of videos where he shows how he handled that, and I just kind of followed it step by step, and it all turned out well so far.
Until you have to drive it, it turned out well.
That's right. It steers fine. It
Oops,
shifts fine. But so yeah, and there's still a lot more to do on this project to meet the goals by the end of December. I'm going to have to remove the biggest step here that I'll talk about. I'm going to have to remove the engine, and then because the gas tank has 20-year-old gas in it.
Ooh.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the engine's got to get pulled. Which have I admitted that I've never done that before? So
It's okay. It's a Volkswagen.
It'll
It's
be easy. It's fine. It'll be easy enough. But that'll be a challenge. And get pulled. I've watched people on YouTube do it 1,000 times. How hard can it be? You pull the gas tank.
well, it's
clean it
easier
out.
on a VW.
Yes.
You're starting on the right vehicle.
Yep.
Certainly. Yeah.
You'll get it.
Well,
Yeah.
I got to interrupt here for a second. Greg, do me a
No worries.
favor. Remind me, what is your goal for VDub Run 21 for the end of the year?
Really, to have it, be able to drive it around the neighborhood.
Okay. And
You
Brent,
know.
what is your goal with the Weasel for VDub Run 21?
I'm a long ways from this in terms of progress, but I want to drive Dweezil to the coast. Daytona is a day trip for me, and they have a part of their beach where you can drive right out on the beach. I did do this with the bus, and I want to do that with Dweezil. So we'll see if I get there, but that's the goal.
Okay. That's a lot of work to get there by by the end of the year.
Oh man, yeah.
But
Yeah, I think if I really lean into it, and this is kind of the idea, I'll be at least a lot closer.
Oh, definitely. And just to recap, because everybody kind of, I think we got off subject, or not off subject, but off main topic, and introducing Greg and making sure everybody is up to date with Greg, with Backyard Kombi is the VDub Run 21. I originally stated that, I wanted to drive or, go around the neighborhood in my car by December 31st. And as we saw, I'm diving a lot heavier into this than I originally anticipated. So me going around the neighborhood and said 60, maybe Levi pushing me down the driveway, and I just drive around with no brakes. I don't know. One way or another, I'm going to achieve my goal. It just may not be the original way I intended. So we'll see.
Well,
we'll see.
What you won't get is criticism. This is about support. So you do your thing.
Yep.
And if you want to amend the goal as the situation warrants, I think that's within the rule book, which is all of 0 pages long.
I don't even think there was any thought into the 0 pages either, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Catching up a little bit, Fix It Scotty says, I'm a new subscriber, Greg, and he'll be watching for your content and music. So that's cool. Thank you for that. Fix
Thanks,
It Scotty.
Yep.
And
I
VW
definitely watch your
Restoration
channel.
says POR. Yeah, there you go. VW Restoration says POR15 is his middle name, so it's VW POR15 Restorations. To be clear,
that sounds about right. Yeah.
It's a lot to remember.
And other brother Daryl says it'll be a VW Walk 21 Jawbreaker. So
pretty much, but you know what? I'll do what I can. I got a downhill slope in my driveway, and if Levi pushes me down the driveway, I can make it at least halfway around the neighborhood.
All you got to do is land.
No, it's going to be good for all of us to be able to support one another and to help each other along. Motivation, whatever we need to help, accountability, anything. We're here for one another, and that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. So I guess my final point with how to deal with adversity is, number one, know why you're doing it. Like, know why you're into your goal. You do want to have your punch list of, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And you want to have the goal at the end, that you want to drive the car to the coast, or you want to drive around the neighborhood, or you just want to roll down the driveway to the mailbox and try not to hit it. All those are fine goals. But why do you want to do those things? And try and stay connected to that. And then it makes it a lot easier to recognize what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and that little bit of extra motivation to make use, as I've learned once again here, of even the small moments to jump out there and get a little bit of progress done. But always try and maintain that balance, right? So adversity has a why as well. So you kind of want to take a look at why you're being challenged, and is it a worthy thing to be distracted by, or whatever. Try and analyze your situation and keep a healthy perspective with where you're putting your efforts as you move forward. Easier said than done, right? But you deal with diversity by never giving up. You don't fail until you give up. So you just keep at it. The only two things that can make you fail is giving up or running out of time. And so you just keep at it as long as you can.
Or money if you're waiting on parts, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but you can make more of that.
That is true, and honestly, it takes lots of work. Fixing bugs and stuff just said, hey, how's it going, everyone? And I'm glad he joined us. He's been doing a lot of work as well on his Volkswagen, and we know Greg's why, and for Backyard Kombi. Brent, what is your why? Why are you pushing so hard to get Dweezil done? Other than the fact you're tired of seeing it sit for 20 years.
Yeah, kind of a principled approach. I want to finish what I started.
I like it.
It's something I started without really analyzing the situation when I was a dumb college kid. So we're going back about 400 years if I've done my math correctly. I want to finish that thing. And I'm still just as interested and excited about driving the car on a daily basis as I've ever been. Good. I still look at that thing 20-something years later, and about 25 years later, and it's just like, wow, that is a cool car. That is going to be so much fun. So I want to make good on the promise to myself that was made so long ago to drive this thing and finish what I started.
Awesome. Cool.
And how about you, Gary?
Just because I want to.
You knew this was coming.
Actually, I kind of really didn't think about it beforehand, which is pretty bad on my part. But I just...
Well, a legit reason is it's next.
Yeah.
Right? We did Jawbreaker, and now this is the next one.
And to be honest with you, I mean, Jawbreaker needs a little bit of work, so it'll be great to have the 60 done. Be able to put some attention towards Jawbreaker. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be like everybody else or most everybody else and have a bus. It's just not in our cards to have one. Financially, room to store it, the whole 9 yards, and having 2 Beetles, or at least be able to get the 4 of us out, since the 4 of us don't fit in one Beetle anymore. So there's lots of different whys, and it's just which one works better today to focus on.
That you do what makes sense.
You always need something to work on in a project, and this one just came up and fell in my lap and figured, you know what, let's just grab it by the horns and go.
Something to that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and thanks for the encouragement, Joe. I appreciate that. It says, go Brent.
Yeah, amen. It's almost like a college team.
I think he's telling me to wrap it up.
Oh, he could be.
It's like, get out of here, Brent. So we do need to wrap it up soon, but if anybody has some progress they want to share, I'm going to scroll back here to see who had mentioned in 1835. So Frank just built an 1835 for the Gia Supercharger. It goes on in a few days. So that's some progress right there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's going to be on the road within the week.
Well, he's got a CNC machine there at his shop, and he makes those adapter plates to be able to put those AMR 500 superchargers on different engines. And let me tell you, he is talk about knowledge. This man's got some knowledge.
Yeah.
He's definitely awesome. I'm lucky to have him nearby-ish. 3 hours away. Yeah. But, hey, you don't really count sometimes.
Well, good to have you with us, Frank, and everybody, of course. What I want to, I guess in closing here, as we wind things down, just want to encourage everybody to get out into your garage or your backyard or your carport or wherever it is that you can make some progress and do exactly that. Get a little bit closer to satisfying that why you're doing it, right? And if you can do it on some kind of a timeline, like by the end of the year, and want to join in on the fun with VDubRun 21. Oh, here we have a cameo from Clinton.
There we go. Cool. What's up, dude?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing good now.
Doing good. You've got a lot of fans here. We love the work that you're doing on the bus and how you keep this guy Greg in check.
Yeah.
Nice to have you, by the way.
Yeah, he asked me, what are we going to do on the bus today? Or what did you do on the bus today? So, yeah, he's definitely keeping me honest.
That's good. That's good. Somebody's got to.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
VW Restoration says, I've been looking forward to you guys talking what I know. I'm laid up with Rona.
Oh
bummer,
man.
VW Restoration. So I hope you're getting through it, and
I hope you feel better, bud.
And yeah, that's terrible. But I hear that's going around
for a little while at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. Well, thanks for looking forward to our live stream. So I guess the last thing I want to do is just kind of go back around one more time with like a lightning round of what are you going to do next? What's coming in your projects, in your VDub, in your YouTube channel, or whatever you want to mention. And I'll be selfish and go first again. Is I'm targeting another live stream for October 3rd. So I want to do this. I try not to make promises that I'm not absolutely certain I can deliver on, but I'm going to reach out a little bit here. I'm going to stretch and say I want to do a live stream every month for the remainder of VDubRun 21. That includes something about updates of VDubRun 21. We'll see what formats make sense each month. So I'm targeting October 3rd for the next one of these, and I really need to wrap up the final video of Project Vandemic. And of course, need to find some garage time. That's for me just as much as it is for the YouTube channel. So it'll be a busy September, to say the least, and then an even busier October in the best of ways. So what you got coming up, Gary?
I'm pretty much, not to spoil it too much, pretty much wrapped up with all the exterior body work and sheet metal work. So now I'm moving on to the inside, getting the inside squared away, and then from there I'm going to get the body back on the chassis, start working on the front end a little bit. I got got a new hood for the front, so that's good. And you start doing some body work and a little bit of fitting up there, and then we'll start on pans and chassis and see how far we get. But I just plugging along a little bit at a time, just trying to make forward momentum. How about you,
Very
Greg?
cool. That sounds like a good next step.
I've got a new YouTube coming out in the next week, and I'm trying to mix things up. There's some music and some talking, and I've spent a lot of time with the editing, so I'm pretty happy with it. If I can just put the final touch on it, that'll be out there. So if you haven't watched anything that I've done, then look at the most recent ones, but look for this new one that's coming out, because that's sort of the course of things moving forward, and it reflects
Excited
sort
to
of
see it.
new things we've learned about how to make a YouTube video and how to edit it, etc. In terms of the bus, pull the engine, pull the gas tank, clean everything up, put it back together, drive it around the block. So,
Well, as long as you keep Clinton there,
Very
I
cool.
think you'd be all right.
I'll just
Keep
I'll
it
just
you
sit
moving
inside and
forward.
let him do it.
Yeah, there you
And,
go. Yeah, just
I'll
Well, your
hold the
videos
camera.
just keep getting better, so I'm looking forward to seeing this next one. I've heard a little bit about it, and I'll be watching that as soon as it comes out. So excited to see your next one, and hope
Definitely.
everybody else will check it out as well.
definitely.
Annie gave us an update.
Yep.
Engine is next on her list. I remember that from your Instagram, Annie, that you're going to take a look at the engine and maybe do some kind of a video regarding that. So that'll be cool to see, and I wish you the best of luck with that project. I think I mentioned this in an Instagram comment that there's little that's more fascinating than the VW engine. Like, if you really dive deep into how they did that,
Yep.
and what we get from them, it's a fascinating design, and teardown is a great opportunity to explore a lot of that stuff, particularly if you haven't torn one down before. It's so exciting to go through that process, and it's your first step of reassembly, so that's your chance to see how it goes together is before it comes apart. But it's an important time, but a very exciting time. So you got some pretty cool stuff coming up from Annie V, and I think normally she just posts on Instagram, so look for her there. Also been using the VDubRun21 hashtag.
Yep.
So, all right, very cool. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this and being patient with me. What everyone watching may not know is we've probably spent a few hours where they were being patient as I tried to figure out how to run this stuff. And while it's not over yet, I'm going to say that I'm kind of surprised that I haven't blown something. There's been all kinds of technical glitches, but it seems like maybe I'll review the footage and we'll see. But it seems like maybe they let us get one in here, which is pretty cool. So thanks again, guys, for your patience with the process, and thanks everybody for watching today and chiming in the chat. This is such a fun thing to do. I hope you all enjoy it too, and we'll definitely be doing it again soon here. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
I just want to say that I appreciate everything that you've been doing to help keep us all motivated and on track, even in your absence. You're still there in spirit.
That's a trick.
That really is, man. I don't know how you pulled that one off, but stop stalking me. But no, and you're right. I mean, we did put in a lot of work to be able to make this happen today, and every bit of it's worth it. It really is. I mean, because
It'll keep getting easier.
well, it's all about the community and bringing us together, and making us all on the same page. And it was nice to actually see you sit there, Brent, and not stress out over stuff as we're going along. As I was over here fighting with my microphone the whole time because it's falling and the cord came undone. And but anyway, it's definitely been a lot of fun. Thank you for taking the time out, Brent, and stepping outside your comfort zone to learn more things and help pull this together. It's been a lot of fun spending time with you guys today.
That's great, Gary. I'll say that I think there's a lot of possible amazing choices for future guests, and I think that you two are going to have a lot of fun picking and choosing there. I'll throw out Annie's VW as some future show suggestion, because I think that she is very like-minded, and she's very detailed, methodologically organized. She has lots of great images, and it would be cool to hear more about her project. I think she would be an ideal guest.
I
for
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, this is probably a good time to mention it. If you go to my About page on the Haptic Garage YouTube channel, you'll find a link for the email, and that's not a terrible way to get in contact with me. So if you want to be a part of something like this in the future, looks like we might be looking for some people. So always happy to correspond and see if this makes sense for both parties and try and come up with something. So yeah, let's just see where this goes. Let's keep leaning into it and do more and more and more.
Annie said to make sure you contact her agent, and she'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, Annie. Don't worry, I got you.
Tig is my secretary, and he's not very good with a phone. That's my dog. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. All right. Well, hey, everybody, one last time, thank you so much for being a part of our live stream today. We'll be doing it again targeting October 3rd, and then, of course, all three of these channels should be busy between now and then. So everyone get out in your garage, get a little bit of work done, and we will see you soon. Stay safe and healthy. And we're thinking about you too, VW Restoration.
Yes,
we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Take care.